Welcome back to War Academy, where the more you learn, the less you die. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and I will help you be the best Warhammer player that you can be. So first step with Tyranids is figuring out which Hive fleet you're going to have the most fun playing. If you're one of those guys that beats all your friends all the time and you want a real good challenge, you got Hive Fleet Masochists here. Like, if you like pain, this is a great one to play. Hydra is probably the worst of all the Hive fleets because of the fact that it's relying on big fat units, and we have less CP than ever, so it's harder to buff those big fat units. Not to mention the meta itself is based off of MSU, and when you lose 20 or 30 gaunts or something to a squad of 5 guys or 2 squads of 5 guys charging you, it's not good. They also don't really have anything cool going for them, which is a bummer. So next, if you're the type of person who's at a game store and someone else has worse BO than you and you start to get jealous, you might be a Gorgon player. Gorgon isn't bad, but they aren't really good either. So they require a lot of luck. You really have to make the stars align with them to get them in the right situations they need to be because of their poison roll where they can wound things on 4+. So I guess they have the best rippers is one thing they have going for them. If you own a bajillion rippers, you could try them out as Gorgon. No matter what, you're still a Tyranid, and Tyranids, like, without even Hive fleets, are still nasty. So if you currently are or have ever attended anger management, you might be a Behemoth player. But probably the coolest thing that Behemoth has going for them is the fact that they can fight on death with non-characters. So just fighting on death with the Carnifex is absolutely awesome, and Gene Stealers as well. Like, you can mess stuff up, and Gene Stealers can pre-deploy. What you can actually do is, if you have a sacrificial squad of Gene Stealers, they can deploy a little bit far forward, bait out charges to them, fight on death, try to kill at least some of them. If it's a big strong unit, at least you've weakened it, and to gets the enemy out of position. I personally think that Behemoth might have one of the best Gene Stealers. It's definitely up there. If you have a lot of Gene Stealers, just being strength 5 on the charge is a pretty big deal. They also have strength 9 warriors, which is just knucking futs. Like, well, I don't know why a bone sword now all of a sudden is stronger than a power fist, but it is. So take advantage of this. Strength 9. So I mean, you're wounding a land raider. Well, not a new land raider, but you're running toughness 8 on 3s. Like, that's wild. Another sneaky thing that Behemoth can do that's super fun is they actually have a playable Broodlord. So Broodlord by himself, he's not a very good data sheet in this Tyranid Codex. But you can get the special relic for Behemoth, which gives you +1 damage to all of your attacks. So now you have a damage 3 Broodlord. So Broodlord's small enough that he can hide in packs of warriors. He can just get places that he needs to be, and you can use this to just destroy enemy characters. So Behemoth also has arguably one of the best Screamer Killer Carnifexes as well because of that. They really need that +1 strength. So if you combine the Screamer Killer just by himself, being Behemoth, is now strength 7, so he can now deal with actual tanks instead of just focusing on light tanks and infantry. On top of that, you give him the glands that'll give him another strength. You can bump that guy all the way up to strength 8, and he's got like 10 or 11 attacks or whatever. So I mean, he becomes a beast. So the concept of making a Behemoth list is you're focusing as much as you can on melee. Like, your melee hits harder, and you can deal with things that normally those specific Tyranids can't deal with. What you do need guns though, because guns, one of the main things to make Behemoth great is that shard lure, so you can get the 3d6 charge and discard the lowest. The lists that Behemoth Hive Fleet tends to make are really fun to play. They are definitely not the most competitive thing, so I wouldn't, necessarily bring it to your next RTT or anything, but it's really fun to play. So if you really, really hate other Tyranids and Eldar and Chaos and Thousand Suns and Grey Knights, you get that, you might be a Kronos player. So overall, Kronos is a little bit easier to play than Behemoth just because you're focusing on a very shooty game. So completely opposite units that Behemoth like to use, you're going to be focusing on a lot of everything that has a gun. So shooty armies in general are just a little bit easier to play than most melee armies. So the big thing you can combo with having increased range on your pyrovores is nasty. And pyrovores are great also in Kronos because they get access to the lurk morphology. So lurk morphology is best one, hands down best one. Like if Leviathan could get lurk, Leviathan would be extra freaking crazy. So Kronos tends to go a less monster build. They like to do a little bit more infantry. So you go the natural camo. So natural camo gives you +1 armor while you're in cover, in addition to the armor you're already getting from being in cover. So this means that your Termagants are 3-up saves, or if you brought some Tyrant Guard, stick them in cover, like those things have a 0+ save. So they can be incredibly tanky with the lurk morphology while they sit in cover and just shoot you to death. Obviously shooting is not what these guys do best. You basically are gonna wipe out anybody that went heavy psychers, and if someone doesn't have any psychers, like, sucks to suck. So the thing I don't like about Kronos, I don't find them that fun because of the fact that it feels really list tailory. Feels like you're specifically building a list to beat someone. So if you go play your friend and like you don't even know what you're playing, you just happen to play Grey Knights, it looks like you might have done this on purpose. So if you've ever thought,
God, do I need to take more Adderall, or am I taking too much Adderall?
You might be a Kraken player. So Kraken has arguably the best Jormungandrs because of the plus AP that they'll get. So just in general, you're kind of a Hive Fleet that counters Armor of Contempt just by its own existence. So similar to Kronos, the Pyrovores in Kraken are also really good just because instead of having extra range, they're just moving faster. Pyrovores love to advance and shoot their gun. So Raveners fit the playstyle amazingly too for Kraken, just because they're, they've got that -1 to hit, so they're tanky in melee. They have a lot of health. They move incredibly quick already, and now they're moving even faster. So I also believe the Kraken has the best parasite of Mordtrax, whatever the hell it's called. Not only is it faster, one of the biggest things that is a pain in the ass with this thing is it doesn't have much AP on its weapons. So having that +1 AP just means more likely to get a kill, to be able to do your infection, and just, it's a fun unit to play, and it's more fun in Kraken. So now normally I would say a fast army is harder to play, but Kraken, just the way that the army works actually doesn't add up to that. The way Kraken's playstyle is they're so fast that you're going to constantly hit the enemy with waves, so it doesn't even take much skill. Your fastest stuff's going to get hit first, then your next wave, and the whole time you're keeping the enemy off of the mid objectives and pushing him back, which is going to make it really hard for him to score primary against most Kraken lists. So Kraken tends to just naturally create multiple screens that the enemy has to push through. And that's why I gave him difficulty of 4 out of 10, as you can see, but it's going to require confidence, because as soon as a Kraken player starts doubting his charges and just losing if you start screwing up your math and getting yourself killed, I mean, it's all going to fall apart very quickly. Because what can happen a lot with Kraken, if you're charging the wrong things and engaging incorrectly, I mean, you're just delivering yourself right into his guns and right into his fists. Games do tend to go a little bit faster with Kraken overall. So next we have the second best Hive Fleet. It is the second best. So this is Hive Fleet Badunkadunk. So this is basically the hot chick at the bar. It's kind of a bummer for the best Hive Fleet because of the fact that Leviathan is so sexy looking on paper. I mean, they have everything. Most people who open the Tyranid book, you should probably think that Leviathan is the way to go. So at the moment, these are the main faction of Tyranids. These are the poster boys. These are the guys that are like the Ultramarines of Tyranids. So this is what most people are playing, and most people also have experience playing when they play against Tyranids. So they are incredibly new player friendly. So anytime you get that Deathwing rule that has the transhuman, that's just helps a lot for error and judgment, because an error in judgment can get Tyranids killed really, really quickly, but Leviathan not so much. So they're a pretty good faction to play if you don't understand your opponent's army. Mainly that comes down to they have the best warriors. So hands down, like if you're playing Leviathan, you're gonna need to buy 18 warriors. They also have amazing harpies with the reroll, the fact that you can put dermic symbiosis on one, so like one's got a 4-up save, then you give the other one synapse, so now it's got transhuman. Those are some really scary and hard to take down harpies. And when you field a harpy, the #1 thing that sucks about them is if you go second and like, oh, you just so happen to be up against a top player and you brought 3 hammerheads, like, goodbye harpies. They're amazing when they go first, though. So one of the big downsides to Hive Fleet Leviathan is warriors are expensive. So just to give you an idea, I believe warriors are $50 for 3 of them, and you're gonna need 18 of them. That's a lot of cash right there, and a 3D printer is only about 200 bucks. So whichever's easier for you. So what I also think is the best part about Leviathan, hands down, like the thing that makes them so good that I always wish I was Leviathan for, is the fact that they are amazing at doing synaptic insight. So synaptic insight, you have to get kills with synapse units, and since the general nature of Leviathan is take as much synapse as possible, they can do this secondary very, very easy. Yeah, Games Workshop pushed Leviathan hard. So I mean, they got amazing psychic power, probably one of the best psychic power that the Hive Fleets can get. They got amazing Warlord trait. They have amazing adaption, so they can run a lot of different types of lists. So if you want to run Gaunts, if you want to run Warriors, if you want to run Monsters, they can do it all and do it all pretty well. The thing that sucks is I hate playing without Lurk. Lurk is so awesome. I love how tough it makes my Tyranids. So the fact that everything does look so good on paper, it's really easy to min-max your army too heavy in one direction. That makes it so you don't counter every other army out there. But yeah, if you're new, these guys are easy to play. Just move forward and kill shit. But now we go on to the most powerful Hive Fleet, the most fun Hive Fleet to play. And in my opinion, screw all the other ones. This is the only one that needs to exist because it's amazing. And that is Hive Fleet. You're Jormungandr. You're gonna Mung.
How to pronounce Jormungandr.
Jormungandr. Okay, I think I got it. So this Hive Fleet has access to the Lurk morphology. So what makes it so awesome is this Hive Fleet, Leviathan can run pretty much any list it wants to and do it okay. This list does it better. So you can run whatever the hell you want. You want infantry spam, you want monster spam, like Lurk morphology lets you do it. So the reason why this one's up even the Kronos' Lurk morphology is like if you have your Tyrant Guard, he's sitting in cover, not only does he have that 0-up save, he gets dense cover. He's -1 to hit when he's more than 12 inches away. Monsters are -1 to hit when they're more than 18 inches away. This is so awesome to have first and usually second turn. So the thing that makes it interesting, I experiment with all kinds of different things to deep strike. So deep striking Old One Eye is awesome because Old One Eye, if you don't do any buffs to him, he's so powerful that he can do, like, I think it's about 18 wounds is what he averages on a charge without any buffs put into him. And you can give him, bonus attacks. You can give him, he's got the horn shitting thing, so he can do mortal wounds on charge. He can get reroll wounds, he can't get reroll wounds, but he can get, you could buff him up. He can almost kill a knight. He might be able to kill a knight right out of deep strike with a 3d6 charge. So I haven't actually tried to deep strike 3 Screamer Killers yet. I usually do 2 because it's kind of hard to fit in 3. But you can totally deep strike 3 Screamer Killers if you wanted to, right into the back lines. The cool thing about Screamer Killers and the Carnifex, because they're fielded in a unit of 2 or unit 2 or 3, so when you deep strike them, it only costs you 1 CP, and then they come in the back line and they get you instant behind enemy lines, just because they'll split into a squad of 2, so they will count as 2 units back there. So you can also deep strike in 3 Pyrovores right into a ruin, and they're going to have their juicy 1+ armor save. And if something's more than 12 inches from them, they'll also be -1 to hit. And then you can just blow people up with fire.
Fire! 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 Fire!
Now the -1 to hit is like, oh, that's cool. I can take venom throws. That's the thing, is the fact that you don't need venom throws anymore. If you've played a lot of Tyranids, you know that like venom throws are pretty much staple. And you're always going to, I usually run 4 venom throws when I'm not running Jormungandr. It's 100 points. I mean, you get to play with 2,100 points basically. And that's amazing. So the Tyranids that I've been playing the most of right now that I love playing is my Carnifex list. So they have OBSEC Carnifex through the Lurk morphology. So if you don't go the bonus and cover save, you can go all monsters count as OBSEC. So anything that's over 10 wounds is going to count as 5 models, and anything that's under 10 that's a monster will just count as 1 model OBSEC. which is amazing on Carnifex. And there is a trick. You don't like, some people are saying, oh, you take 13 Carnifex. That's not the right answer. Don't do that because you're going to give up, bring it down. You want to usually use like 6 to 7 Carnifex, just so you can keep bring it down. Always keep bring it down like under 10 to 11 points. So this Hive Fleet also has some really easy secondaries. It has a lot of different ways to do even the spore nodes I've had success with. But the fact that you can just get behind enemy lines so easy with just spending a CP, that's awesome. So I knew this Hive Fleet was good, but after doing this video, I ended up writing so many notes just about the different combos that this Hive Fleet can do that I am going to have to dedicate a whole entire video to just the hundreds of combos that this Hive Fleet can pull off, mainly with its one stratagem and that access to that lurk. So here's something cool that I made that make playing Tyranids so much easier for me. So I made these awesome little cards to keep track of all my command phase buffs and all my stratagems. So when I got things like, oh, these warriors have -1 damage, and I put, you know, +1 to hit with direct guidance over here, and then this guy did this in the command phase, but reroll 1s over here. I have this imperative active right now. There's so many cards, and the Games Workshop ones look so stupid. So I made these, and I am giving them out to anybody on my Patreon. So I'm gonna have them up on my Patreon. Check it out, sign up, and I want to make a set of cards that are all the command phase stuff for every single army. I've got psychic powers, things, and stuff in here too. My opponents love this as well. Like, Tyranids are a new codex, and a lot of people aren't familiar with them, and they're not exactly the most common army in the game. So the fact that your opponent can clearly see what has what buffs on it is just overall sportsman-like thing to do. So the link to my Patreon will be down in the description. Also, guys, like I said, I plan on doing every single army, so it's gonna take me a little bit of time, but I'm gonna get them ready as fast as I can. On a final note, the Discord is live. I have a Discord server set up for War Academy, and everybody's welcome to join. I want to make a huge group of people for when Dark Tide comes out, and I am excited for that game, and I'm gonna play the shit out of it. But check out my Discord, it's down in the description. Check out my Patreon. I'll give you one-on-one coaching. I'll help you do everything I can to help you do well at your next event that you go to. If you have any questions too, leave me a comment. You can also message me on Discord. The thing I would love to hear from you guys is Tyranids is a new codex, and I can't cover everything in one video like this. I want to hear what combos you guys have been doing. When I made the Orc video, I was able to learn quite some interesting things from some of the comments. I want to hear what you guys have to say. If this video does well, I will totally make the Jormungandr video as soon as I can, because there is some cool shit that you guys need to know as Tyranid players about that Hive Fleet. Make sure you like and subscribe, and may your dice always roll 6s.